Just about everyone in Congress voted for a resolution condemning anti-Semitism. Well, just about everybody. One of the people who did not vote that way was Marjorie Taylor Greene. Surprised? That's the Jewish space laser woman? Let's discuss. I'm Dave Aronberg, former state attorney for Palm Beach County, a.k.a. the Florida LawMan here on Legal AF, where we meet at the intersection of law, politics, and sometimes true crime. Now, I want to first thank you for hitting that subscribe button because you have propelled us to nearly 700,000 subscribers. Thank you for all your support. Now let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, the MAGA congresswoman who just can't quit her offensive comments and offensive actions to Jewish people. According to Mediaite, she defended her decision not to vote for a resolution condemning anti-Semitism this week by arguing that Congress is overly focused on condemning anti-Semitism. She went on to argue Congress prioritizing one group of Americans and or one foreign country above our own people, presumably referring to Jews in Israel, is actually creating more anti-Semitism. Oh, really? Okay, so I guess her philosophy here is that when you condemn hate against Jews, you're creating more hate against Jews. So we should be more like her and talk about Jewish space lasers and not condemn hate against Jews. Does that make sense? Because it doesn't. Because it's absolutely nuts. Quote, anti-Semitic hate crimes are wrong, but so are all hate crimes. Yet Congress never votes on hate crimes committed against white people, Christians, men, the homeless, or countless others. Greene wrote on X following the House passing two resolutions condemning anti-Semitism. One bipartisan resolution condemning a series of recent anti-Semitic attacks passed the House nearly unanimously, while a second GOP-backed resolution passed by a 280 to 133 margin as it slammed Colorado's immigration laws, which Republicans blamed for the recent Boulder attack on pro-Israel activists by a migrant who overstayed his visa. So you had the despicable attack in Boulder, Colorado by a virulent anti-Semitite who firebombed with Molotov cocktails individuals, mostly elderly people who were peacefully congregating to call for the release of the hostages in Gaza. And that's why you had these resolutions. But Marjorie Taylor Greene says, what about white people? They're subject of hate crimes against them. I mean, the jokes write themselves. And they're not even funny because you have Marjorie Taylor Greene being Marjorie Taylor Greene again. She's doing Marjorie Taylor Greene things. And then you see on social media, there have been posts about how Democrats are the only ones who voted against a resolution that condemns anti-Semitism. When you look further, in the 280 to 133 vote, the reason why so many Democrats voted against that resolution is because it was a vehicle to slam Colorado's immigration laws and to praise ICE. So, they dilute the resolution against anti-Semitism, which passed nearly unanimously, and instead throw in all these other things so they can use it as a sword against Democrats for saying, you voted against an anti-Semitism condemnation bill. But in reality, no, they threw all this other stuff in there that led to their no votes. When it came down to the pure bill, the actual bill that condemns anti-Semitism, Marjorie Taylor Greene stands nearly alone. So to be clear, she didn't vote against the resolution. She voted present, as if that's better. And when you blame Jews for anti-Semitism, that in itself is anti-Semitic. So, Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to check herself. And this whole thing about how it's just the right wing that's standing up for Jews around the world, well, they just got exposed by one of their own for doing something and saying something that really only Marjorie Taylor Greene will say in Congress, blaming Jews for their own anti-Semitism. As one commentator said, Mark Goldfeder, "Dear Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, I used to excuse your anti-Semitism based on your obvious stupidity, but there comes a time where even half-wits must be held accountable. Everything you said here is wrong, and you are anti-Semitic. Let me explain. First, of course, all hate crimes are wrong, and this resolution never said anything to the contrary. And Congress does vote on matters concerning hate crimes committed against other people. I understand that you are incapable of even the simplest level of research, so here's a helpful guide to federal hate crime laws. I should probably also explain that Congress is the legislative branch of the government that voted on these laws. And he attached an overview of federal hate crime laws. Do you know why there have been so many anti-Semitism resolutions voted on recently? It is because anti-Semitism in the United States has skyrocketed since Hamas's brutal October 7th massacre. Anti-Semitism has risen on the right amongst people who believe in crazy conspiracies like Jewish space lasers. Wait, that was you. And those who trivialize the Holocaust. Oops, you again, huh? Or who hang out with white supremacists and neo-Nazis. Yeah, you again? But also on the left, where people cannot simply condemn horrific acts of anti-Semitism without also saying, but what about, and amongst those who blame innocent Jews for the rise in anti-Jewish hatred? Again, both you tonight. Welcome to the far left, you hypocrite. Congress is not prioritizing one group of Americans. Right now, there is one distinct group of Americans that is being harassed, discriminated against, and even murdered because of who they are. This is not about Jewish exceptionalism. It is only about equality. There is an equal protection problem here, as idiots like you highlight when you claim that standing against anti-Semitism only causes more anti-Semitism. Would you prefer that the Jews just lay down and die? Would that be more convenient for you? And no, you are not principled. You are a fool. When you condemn Christian persecution as you do you ever stop and worry that you are driving more division, including anti-Christian division? Of course not. So, I'll leave it there. I thought that Mark Goldfeder actually says all that needed to be said. Look, we're all in this together. Legal AF, Midas Mighty. We're all here to condemn all forms of hate. And when innocent Jews are firebombed in Boulder, it is not wrong to condemn the rise in anti-Semitism in our country. It's not. When the Jewish governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, is attacked through a firebomb in his home because he's Jewish, not because of his positions on the Middle East, but because he's Jewish, that shows that there's a problem. And yes, when two innocent individuals are murdered outside a Jewish museum in Washington, D.C., by a radical hate monger, yeah, that shows there's a problem, and that shows why there is need for a resolution. And for Marjorie Taylor Greene to be one of two, that's just 2 members of Congress voted present. 0 members of Congress voted no. 2 voted present. 1 Democrat and 1 Republican. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Rashida Tlaib. Sad to say, I'm not surprised by either. So congratulations, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You are in your own caucus with Rashida Tlaib. I'm sure your constituents are very proud. That's the latest here on Legal AF. I'm Dave Aronberg, a.k.a. the Florida LawMan. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share with a friend, leave a comment below. Thank you for all your support, getting us near 700,000 subscribers. And I'll see you next time.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.